I'm interested, first of all, by this vote that seems to have gone your leader, Jeremy Corbyn's way, in terms of not deciding that you would back enthusiastically a pro-Remain agenda, but instead wait and see, renegotiate, then offer the country a second referendum, and then decide which way Labour will support. You're disappointed. Is it muddling for the public of the UK not to know where Labour Party lies in terms of Brexit?
Well, I'm disappointed because I had said that I would campaign for Remain. But I think it's important to be clear that we've made real progress today in this sense that we are now absolutely committed to a referendum, either in this government or an incoming Labour government. And in that referendum, the options will be to remain on the one hand, or to leave with a workable deal, a deal that can be secured on the other. So, of course, there are discussions about what actually happened today in the vote, but I think that's obscuring to some extent the progress we've made actually securing the commitment to a referendum.
Sir, would you say that Labour is just as divided or split as the Conservative Party is when it comes to being pro or anti-Brexit? I just wonder, as someone who's not from the UK, what is ultimately the difference between your party and the Tories, aside from Labour being the main opposition party when it comes to all things Brexit?
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, the fundamental difference, and it is very fundamental, is that we're saying that the only way now to break the impasse is to have a referendum. That's a million miles from where the Conservatives are. They're saying by the 31st of October, either we'll get some magical deal through or we'll crash out without a deal. So we're a million miles from where the Conservatives are.
There has been a law passed by Parliament, of course, to stop that crashing out without a deal on October 31st.
Yeah.
But there's some question as to whether Boris Johnson will abide by it. How will you prevent him, in some ways, as many are saying, breaking the law and coming out come October the 31st?
I mean, doesn't it tell you everything you need to know about Boris Johnson, that his first instinct when a law is passed is to attempt to break the law? Now, if he does try to do that, he's going to run into problems in the courts and he's going to run into problems in Parliament. The Act is very, very simple. If you haven't got a deal through or agreement for no deal by the 19th of October, you've got to apply for an extension. So if he doesn't do that, then he can be sure there'll be legal proceedings and he can be sure that there will be proceedings in Parliament.
So a lot of potential trouble awaits him when he gets home. Right now, he's in New York, as you know, the Prime Minister kicking off a week of intense diplomacy at the UN General Assembly. What can he get done here, meeting other foreign leaders?
Well, what he should be doing, I think, is putting his proposals for a deal on the table to the EU, because the problem we've got at the moment is that he says he wants a deal, but he hasn't actually put any proposals on the table. And I don't see how you can negotiate a deal if you haven't put any proposals on the table. So what he needs to do is get on with negotiating, because otherwise there won't be a deal.
Is there any kind of deal that you feel would be appropriate thus far? If you were currently not just shadow Brexit Secretary, but actually Brexit Secretary, what would you be pushing for most significantly in terms of any way to square the circle when it comes particularly to the Irish backstop?
Yeah, well, what we've done is to talk to businesses across the United Kingdom, and they've been very clear that they want to stay economically close to the EU because that's the way they've operated for 50 years. And their basic plea to us is don't make life more difficult than it already is. We've also been deeply conscious of the need to make sure we abide by the spirit and the letter of the Good Friday Agreement and not to do anything that could lead to a hard border in Northern Ireland. So that's taken the Labour Party into a space of saying any deal would have to be one which is economically close to the EU. But I think, frankly, the position of many Labour members and MPs now is that whatever the deal, it's got to go back to the public for the public to agree that we leave on those terms or to remain if not.